Please like, subscribe, and share. This is the Kid Rod Allen and your St. Shot City and around the world. Welcome to another episode of Chicago's Elections Podcast. And today we have Mr. Alex Breland. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm all good. We're closing out the year, but I'm feeling great.
Yeah, man. It's pretty cold in Chicago, huh?
It's a little chilly. It dropped down. We got some snow yesterday. I was just talking to a couple family members and letting them know we got some snow, and yeah, it's cold right now. But we used to it.
Yeah, we used to it, man. But fortunately, I've been able to cheat. I've escaped for some time. It's 88 degrees where I am. I have on shorts right now.
Leave. You
What?
can cut this part out.
What?
You're a cool guy, man. You're shooting this. You're doing this from Ghana, man. Like I'm sitting here messaging you back and forth. You say, "Hey, brother, I'm 6 hours ahead of you. We got to get this done. Let's talk about this cool lifestyle that you live in, man.
I
How'd you
mean,
get yourself in this position?"
plenty of work, dedication, commitment, vision, support systems, all of the things that you talked about in your interview.
It's always beautiful to get away in the thick of the winter time. So.
Yes, sir. So let's go ahead and kick this off, man. And in case you might be feeling a few jitters, you shouldn't be because you're very distinguished in your accomplishments. But let's go ahead and kick this off, man. If you don't mind.
I'm all good. This friendly fire. We all good.
That's
man.
right. This is as friendly as it gets.
Yeah.
So tell the world a little bit about your background, things like how you were raised, where you were raised, and things of that nature.
Sure. So I'm from East New York, Brooklyn.
Okay.
Um,
Brooklyn's in the
you
house.
know, yeah. Raised by a loving mother.
Mm-hmm.
I have an older brother and two younger siblings. Uh, there's some pretty big age gaps between us. My older brother is 5 years older than me, and I've got a sister who is 8 years old, younger than me, and then another one who's 18 years younger than me.
Right.
So at some point in time, I was like the younger brother, the youngest in the household. At some point in time, I was like the oldest because my brother was out of the household. So it was a unique mix growing up, sandwiched between them with those kind of age gaps. My father wasn't physically present because of incarceration, so he's been locked up as since I was a baby. But he's been a steady presence in my life nonetheless. So in short, that's my background. That's where I'm from, and that's my family household.
Talk a little bit about the schools that you went to, Alex.
Yeah.
What schools did you
So
start in Brooklyn?
yeah, I went to public school.
Okay.
So I went to public school all the way through high school. Um, I started off at PS13,
Ah,
um, and Roberto Clemente, and I should say before that, I had a small stint at PS328, Phyllis Wheatley, but that was only for like a half a year. Then I went to PS13. Um, when I finished there, I went to Gersh, IS 166, George Gershwin. And then when I was in the eighth grade, I got introduced to this program called A Better Chance.
that is right.
And it's big on the East Coast, but they've spread out further these days. But they take kids from the city and put them in college prep schools. And I was able to go away for high school to a place called Radnor. Radnor is a beautiful public school on Philadelphia's main line. So for my high school, I completed my high school outside of Philly. Um, yeah, but that was that's my early education. And then after that, after high school, I went to Penn in Philly.
Ah, so
Uh,
this must mean that you were pretty astute during your days in the public school system.
Yeah, I did my work. I always thought the great thing about my parents, I will say, is they always emphasize the importance of education. I think all parents do that, so I shouldn't say just my parents, but they were supportive in the things that I wanted to do. Particularly my mother letting a 13-year-old go away for school. That's a big ask, but she felt confident enough in the decision to do it. And then in terms of background, we say like my father, steady presence in my life. He was a huge intellectual,
Mm.
super intellectually curious. And so, I mean, it was always in my mind that, forget the formal education. You want to be an active participant in the world and know the world around you. And, being sharp is important,
Yes.
forget all the accolades and the credentials. You just want to be a sharp person. And so that's always been something I've strived for since I was young and translated to fairly decent success in school as well.
So take us back through this undergrad journey, because this is a
Yeah.
prestigious school that you mentioned.
Uh-huh.
So what was that journey like? Undergrad.
Oh, well, I tell people all the time, my thought is I think undergrad is about fit, I think it's in, people want to go to the best school that they can get into, but I also think you want to go to a place that's going to harness who you are at that particular point in time. You know what I mean? And so what might work for Rodney Allen at 18 ain't the same thing that's going to work for Alex Breland at 18. And so Penn worked out for me. It was academically challenging, but I was ready for it. I had good training up until that point. So the classroom was fine. Socially, I was prepared to do it. I had lived away from home already. So it was almost like I had already gotten a feel for what it's like to be away and,
Yeah.
be a college student of sort because I was living away from home when I was in high school. But what made a huge difference for me was I was smacking West Philadelphia, right? So, I mean, that's a beautiful thing about Penn's campus. It's a gorgeous campus, gorgeous urban campus. They're spreading out further west and even spreading towards Center City. And you can do lots of stuff on campus, but also for a brother like me, it was great to be able to escape campus when the noise on campus wasn't reflective of my vibration at times. If I needed to step off and go find some Caribbean food, I could do that. I could go to 52nd or 63rd Street. I could go down to the gallery. We could go to a jazz club. There was a lot of stuff that I could do off campus. So for me, being a big city kid coming from New York, where I just spent 4 years in the suburbs in the main line of Philly, being back in the city was great. So I was able to meet my academic needs and challenges and also my personal needs, being able to step off campus. And at the time, it was also the height of Rockefeller and state property connection.
Yeah.
So
Going down.
I'm in Philadelphia in the thick of that. So
Right.
it was
Right.
a great place for me in that respect.
Yeah. Yeah. You had State Prop, you had the Roots,
Hmm.
Medea, all of those people were around
Yeah.
during those times.
Neo, yeah, and you're right that like the neo soul was booming at that time. Jill
Yeah.
Scott had popped off. Music Soul Child was doing his thing.
Yeah.
Bilal was jumping off. So that was going on simultaneously as well. So in Philadelphia at that time, what a great place to be at for school, and also have those great musical influences at that point in time. Really thriving where you at.
Lot of action, a lot of culture. So after undergrad, where did you transition to?
Um, So I did teach for America, and this is going to bring me to
Oh, you did
Chicago. And I
teach.
didn't mention on the schooling side, huh?
You did
Yeah, I
teach.
did.
Okay.
I did teach. So when I my senior year, I had a thought I wanted to go to law school, but I didn't really have any great reason to go to other than thinking it was a cool thing to do. So I wanted to buy myself some time to figure out a good reason to go to law school, but I also wanted to do something important. You know what I mean? You could be in school and leave and get a job and push paper and do something entry level. Everybody's got to start someplace, but I did want to do something that had some impact, and I felt like teaching was it. And so, every day you step into a classroom as an elementary school student teacher, you probably got 30 kids learning in your hands. If you're at the high school level, that's many more. And I wanted that responsibility. I wanted to feel like I was doing something meaningful. Immediately graduating and Teach for America presented that opportunity, so I ended up starting off in New Orleans.
Oh,
Um, and I was super intrigued about being in New Orleans because it's a place that I know that benefited from uh, could use a number of teachers. And teachers there were doing a wonderful job. So let me not say anything to diminish the work of the veteran teachers who've been toiling away in Orleans parish schools. But I knew it was a place that was welcoming to me at that time. And I just, from everything I read, New Orleans just seemed to have such a vibrant culture. So that's the other thing that pulled me there, right? So one, the need, given their academic record, and then two, the culture. From second line parades to red beans and rice on Monday in the cafeteria to all the jazz clubs that they have down there. from bounce music and the sort. I was super intrigued about being in New Orleans. So I started off in New Orleans. This was in 2004, and I taught at McDonough 42 in the 7th Ward. So I taught uh, third grade my first year, and then entering the second year, I was teaching. No, no, no. I'm scrambling that up. I taught six and seven. I taught middle school math and social studies in New Orleans.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I did. I taught middle school math and social studies in New Orleans. Um, but I was down there in 2004. So we finished the first school year. In the second start at the start of the second school year, Hurricane Katrina hit.
Oh, you were down there.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Hurricane Katrina hit, that pushed me to evacuate. And I came to Chicago because my wife then girlfriend was here going to grad school at the University of Chicago. And so then I came here and I taught at Bond Elementary School, which is where I taught third grade.
Yeah, okay.
And that's where I met Chuck Dog.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. DJ Chuck Job. Big ups.
DJ Chuck Dog. That's where I met DJ Chuck Dog. And then after wrapping up my 2 year commitment, because I finished up here in Chicago, that's when I went to law school and went to Chicago downtown.
Here's the $1 million question that I want our young people to hear, boys and girls. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex, please tell us, what was it like being in law school? I know they're preparing you to study for the bar, but for you as an African American male, what was it like?
Yeah. Um, so here's what law school is. I say it's lawyer boot camp, you know what I mean? So
Mm,
versus undergrad where you're taking, a variety of courses, you have your major and you have to hit the requirements for your major. Let's say it's 10, courses and whatever your selected field is, and you can take a bunch of elective. Everything is law,
yeah.
you know what I mean? So you should prepare for 3 years of intense legal training, you know? Um, as a black man, I think one of the biggest challenges is, you just got to know that you belong there and feel that you belong there. There's not many of us, it wasn't many of us in the classroom. And, law school can be one of these places where you get what you put in terms of work, but also you got to have a willingness to be inquisitive and vocal. You know what I mean? And I can understand how it can be an intimidating environment going in there, the Socratic method. Um, you really got to feel like you belong, and you really got to trudge ahead and be willing to make mistakes. um, but legal education is a great education to have. Kent was super supportive. I was a part of their labor and employment certificate program, and they had a lot of support through there that really helped me along. um, but yeah, it's a challenging environment because it's intense learning, it's fast paced, and the learning style is different than what you previously are probably accustomed to through undergrad and your prior education generally.
Absolutely. So you ended up earning a JD, right? A Juris Doctorate.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Can you explain to the world, because the world probably doesn't know what that means, right? So we can't assume
Mm.
that they do. Can you explain to the world what a Juris Doctorate is, a JD?
Sure. I mean, it's a uh, graduate degree in law and in jurisprudence. Um, and yeah, I mean that's what it is. I mean, at least in the States, you got to go through uh, you know finish law school, finish your 3 years of law school course, pass the bar in the state where you intend to practice. Um, but yeah, in short, it's a graduate degree in law that's necessary in order for you to practice. And yeah.
Man, it makes me so happy just to hear you talk, man. It makes me so happy. I mean, man, there aren't many brothers, man, that fit certain categories. That doesn't mean that they
Mhm.
don't have value, right?
Yeah.
But on the intellectual level, there aren't many of us who are grounded and you know rooted in our values.
Mhm.
Many of us end up transitioning into other spaces, which is a whole nother conversation. But this is
Sure.
what makes me so proud of you. One of the many things that makes me so proud of you. But anyway, Alex, what are your values, brother?
Um, I value discipline.
Mm,
And that shows up in a number of ways, you know what I mean? I think fitness is something that's important and taking care of your physical self. I mentioned intellectual curiosity. I certainly value that.
yeah.
And like I said, I mentioned that earlier, like, setting aside all the degrees and stuff like that, like the law degree. The way I look at it is a necessary step in order for you to practice. And that's some of the best advice that I actually got going into law school, which is like, don't be overwhelmed with this. And I've gotten that advice actually two times by two black women who both said, don't get overwhelmed by the training that's necessary to do what you want to do, right? So if I had to say anything about going back to the law school piece, which is you go and you get your graduate degree because you want to do well in law school, but that's not the goal. The goal is to go out there and practice and do something else, right? Um, Same thing when I was teaching, I did training there, and I called up a friend, Courtney Patterson, for some advice on getting through, teacher training, and she said, "Hey, this training is just a step for you to get back in the classroom with the babies. Remember why you're there." Same thing with the legal stuff. Like, go and get your degree, but keep in mind what you intend to do with it, and that's probably as important as getting a degree. The degree is necessary, but figure out what you want to do with it, and that's your motivator. So back to being intellectually curious, because you asked what I value. So I would say discipline's important. You know, Fitness is one example. It's always important to be intellectually curious, and that doesn't mean you have to have a degree to do that. That could be you pick up a book, you like poetry, you're pursuing your interest. Um, and then I say community. Community is super important to me. You know what I mean? Like one of the things I know you notice here, I hope you notice here in Chicago, but it's the same thing back in New York. Like I belong to a community. I go back home, I walk the block, I say hi to my own neighbors, Miss Yolanda, Miss Joanne, Miss Denise. I see Francis and her twins, tons of people, you know what I mean? And it's the same thing here in Chicago. Like it's one thing to just be in the city, um, and taking advantage of everything downtown and be involved in your professional network and so on. But I'd like to think that I'm also grounded in community. I could walk out and say hi to my neighbors and they would recognize me, they'd recognize my kids, and you'd be a good steward of your neighborhood and good citizen where you're at. So those are some things I value. And of course, family. I value being present for your loved ones. You know what I mean? Being present for your loved ones and your friends, and being present is key.
Yeah. Hey man, let me tell you, I remember first meeting you, and it was bittersweet because it was fortunate and unfortunate simultaneously because
Tell me more.
you made it your business to immerse yourself in the community, right?
Yeah.
And I say it's bittersweet because I shouldn't have been surprised at that, right?
Mm,
Doesn't happen often enough, so I was. That's what I mean by it was bittersweet,
interesting.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It just doesn't happen enough, but that's one of the things that has always stood out to me about you is your willingness and your fortitude, your audacity
Yeah.
to make sure that you immerse yourself in the community. And not only were you immersing yourself in the community for the sake of, your family and the community at large, but you were holding us accountable, right?
Mm,
We're reaching out to other people, other men, and saying,
yeah.
hey, listen, there's some things that need to be done in the community. What about a community garden? What about some safety for the children? All of these things I remember about you. And that's something that I'll probably never forget. And like I said, not nearly enough of us have that attitude. So I like the way that you showed up, bro. I like,
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
yeah,
And shout out to my man Chuck Dog because he
yeah,
really introduced me, gave me a nice warm welcome to 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 the neighborhood,
yeah,
your circle and the sort. And I can't thank him enough. When we were at Bond, he said, "Man, you hoop, you should come over and play with us in Washington Park," which was cool. I was hooping a bunch then, and that was fun. But I was actually even more thrilled when I found out that after playing ball, they went and hung out at Revis, right?
yes,
And I was like, "Oh, this is the vibe." Like clearly, I like basketball, but I like the presence that they had in the park, and some that precedes me. And I owe much to tons of people like yourself, as well as Chuck Dog, who welcomed me with open arms and allowed me to be a part of that, and spread my wings. So,
yeah.
I've been fortunate to run into some good people here who have allowed me to be a part of the community and speak up.
Yeah, man, it was 100% authentic and probably 1,000% organic, man. I absolutely loved it. Which leads me to my next question.
Sure.
Did you get your early mindset? Who were some of your earliest influences?
Hmm. Yeah, it for me, it starts at home, right? Like, so I mentioned earlier, like, uh, growing up in Brooklyn, my mother was a very loving mother, but she poured into people more than she poured into herself.
Hmm.
And when I say that, she was in some relationships that weren't particularly helpful for her, that prevented her from fulfilling her promise. But she was always super supportive and prepared me to go out and compete in the world. You know what I mean? We had a stable household despite any challenges she was going through. We lived in the same place. I didn't move much. I always had a meal to eat, but
Yeah.
she always prepared me to go out and hit the street running. Like, you know, just taught me common decency and professionalism, the way you answer the phone, you know what I mean? The way you greet people, the way you treat people, fortunate and the less fortunate.
Right.
So she was super supportive in that way. Um, and then, like I said, my father as well. Um, so, well, I'll close this one. My mother was saying I saw somebody who was brilliant and didn't get a chance to um, fulfill all her promise. And so that always stuck with me, which is something I wanted to make sure I carved out space in my life so I could be the best person I could be. And sometimes that means shielding yourself from some negative stuff out there. And then my father, who I mentioned was, locked up since I was a baby. Um, since I was in high school, I've had a direct line of communication with him, and he's been a steady presence in my life. Um, but he's an extremely disciplined person. You know what I mean? Like exercises regularly every day. He's been a vegan for many years. Doesn't drink. Doesn't curse. And I grew up having books of his, and everybody I think in their mind has some yearning to emulate their parents or be better than them, exceed their aspirations. Like you're either trying to live up to the giants of your parents or trying to exceed them in some shape, form, or fashion. And he operated like that for me, and so. I was aware of how talented he was and
Yeah.
some of the decisions that he made that short circuited his ability to deliver on his promise. And I had thought, like, man, once again, I want to fulfill my promise, and I want to make sure I carve out the space and shield myself from things that might prevent me from doing that. So that's the start. And then I'll say along the way, it's not one person, but one piece of advice I give for people is, I mean, go out there and borrow, man. You go out there and borrow from everybody who you see doing something that you like. And I'm
Yes.
not talking about in a superficial way with style and stuff like that. I'm talking about how people live their life. And so I can identify a number of people who are living a life where I didn't full scale pull everything, but I took an aspect that I thought was cool. In fact, my man Mike Nurse, his father just passed away, right? And I was on the phone with his sister Tanisha earlier this fall, and I told her about her parents. One of the things I appreciated about them, whatever struggles they had going on, which I wouldn't be fully privy to, they were one of the first families I can identify. The parents were married for like, I want to say upwards of 30 years, maybe longer. I could be shortchanging them, but they were steady. And I spent so much time in their apartment at Grace Towers, and I just borrowed that sense of stability. Like I wanted that. So I mean, I'm pulling from there, right? And then I might pull from uh one of my friends who I think is doing something cool. I like the way that they study. Oh, I'm gonna emulate that. Or when I went away for high school, I had a host family, and the guy was super successful, but came home and he was an average Joe. You know what I mean? And I just liked the way that he was, present and doing his work downtown. And when he was home with his family, he was all in. So I'm constantly borrowing. I borrow from, people we hang out with at the park. I might be watching, taking notes, but you borrow along the way. And that way, hopefully, you get some good examples. So I didn't have anybody necessarily physically steering me the whole time, but you borrow from the good stuff you see, and then once you put in good energy out there, the other thing I'll say is people will offer to help you. You know what I mean? And you need to take advantage of it. So there's a lot of times when people say, "Oh, I'm gonna call you," well, I'm gonna follow up, and they don't. Right? I would say I did, and I do. You know what I mean? In fact, I would trip to your crib so I could come pick up some collard greens, and
Yeah, man.
it's still in the back of my
Froze
mind. You know
some
what I
though.
mean?
I froze you some because I know you now, right? I know that you're
Yeah,
gonna there's going to be some accountability involved. So I said, you know what? Let me have cook some of these and freeze them. We're missing one another, but when he shows up, I'm gonna have something for
Yeah,
him.
yeah. But no, but in life you gotta take advantage of those and opportunities when people extending an opportunity to you.
Yeah,
And I did. I did. I would say that.
absolutely, man. I especially like the awareness and mindfulness that you asserted in regards to your mom and your pops, man. And you can see those qualities, and it. I get the sense that the untapped potential really impacted you, right? And
Yeah,
it made you want to strive. That's what I think I'm hearing, right? And
that's what you
yeah,
heard.
yeah, and I definitely, as you explained about your mom and your pops and other people that you've engaged with, but specifically your mother and father, I could see those qualities in you, right?
Okay.
You know, the discipline of your dad, you know, and the steadfastness of your mother. I could see those qualities in you, so you carry it well, brother. So check
Thank you.
this out.
Sure.
You serve as Associate General Counsel for an industry leading SaaS company. Now,
Yeah.
SaaS, is that related to software?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So software as a service.
Okay. You
Yeah.
also have 15 years in counting in law. You've practiced in the public and private sectors. You've practiced in corporate, legal sectors, at an AM Law 200 firm and the
Mhm.
state of Illinois, and I can just go on and on.
Yeah, yeah,
Please tell us about this process, man. How have you been so consistent?
yeah. So one of the other things, I mean, some of it is luck, man. And you know, I've been super fortunate. I've had good people in my life who helped me out along the way. I had a great mentor, Leslie Richards Yellen. I've known her since I was 13. She's been a huge advocate for me since I was there, and she helped me transition into the legal market here in Chicago. So I'm immensely thankful for her. I'm immensely thankful for people like Dorothy Capus. She gave me my first job in house. She's just a great presence in the city of Chicago. I think her name rings bells in the legal community. But what I think is impressive about her, she just helps so many people. She uses a platform to help tons of people. So I've been fortunate in that way. When you get there, you just try to do a good job. You know what I mean? Uh, you gotta, yeah, you gotta do a good job. And that goes without saying. But what I'll say is this: I mean, I think a couple of things that carry you through your professional practice, whether it's law or anything else. And I would say, one, you just got to be a good person, man. Like it goes a long
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
If you're a solid person, you respect the common decency of others, you'll get the support that you need to be successful in your position. That includes your colleagues who you're working with, the support staff who you work alongside. That's key to your success, you know, wherever you are. The other thing more practically is like, man, you're there as an advocate for your employer as well as the people who you directly report to. And part of your job there is to make them look great. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
anticipate some of the challenges that they have. I had this one mentor, Scott Gilbert, when I was at Henshaw and Culbertson, who said, your supervisors will never be upset if you prevent them from missing a deadline, right? And so it's like, hey, beyond the immediate tasks that you might get asked to do, part of your job is figuring out what the underlying needs are of the organization that you work for and in the legal profession, the client that you support. And you can get out and ahead of those things so you can make your managers look good and prevent them from making errors. And at some point in time, you'll be in that leadership role with the primary context, and you want to make sure that you have support and folks who keep you um, in line and make sure you don't blow deadlines, but also just generally deliver. And I think you recognize this as you move further along in your career. You get more on your plate than you can possibly handle, right? So there's going to be some spillage, and you got to have support from people who help you through that. So and sure, being a good team player is important. Having a broader picture and just being diligent at your work, wanting to do a good job and sticking to it, and not being afraid to ask for help. But those are some of the things that have helped me out along the way. And yeah, like I said, just taking advantage of the relationships that you have. Like my movement within the industry has been strategic, but based on great relationships, and being ready when the right opportunity is there. So I've had natural transitions from working at a law firm to going to work for the state of Illinois to transition and in-house. They've all been natural changes that have fit my personal life and what's been going on professionally. So
Man, I love it. And I appreciate you helping me to understand that I need to sustain the mindset that I have because I always tell my department chair, like, my job is to make sure that your job has the least amount of turbulence. And anything
yeah,
I can do in your absence, because it's all about what you're doing when no nobody looking, right?
yeah,
Are you still
yeah,
doing the right thing when nobody's looking, you know?
absolutely.
And I try to carry that into other areas of my life. But thank you for confirming that. Uh, Fill us in on your proudest moment as an attorney.
Wow, that's a good question. Um, probably. I, oh, let me make sure I got this attorney right. My proudest moment was in a arbitration that we had. It was um, a northern suburb. I forget which one, but it was a discipline case from a non-teaching personnel at a school district, and this guy was very irate and made a big scene at a school, and the leadership team there ended up terminating them, and I was the lead on the arbitration, and we defended the decision, and it ended up being successful. And I guess perhaps what was proud about it was that it ended up getting the arbitrator's opinion ended up getting published.
Mm,
Um, and so that was a big deal. And why I probably remember it is because I remember being at this conference um, in Galena, I believe, and somebody was up there giving a presentation, and they were talking about disciplinary cases and arbitrations, and they referenced that opinion. And
wow.
so it was really wild to just like be in a room with them talking about a case that you worked on. And I was like, and I could raise my hand and be like, yeah, that was me. And I can give you a little more insight about that strategy. So it was one great to be an audience member hearing them, you know, identify why they selected that case and thought it was important, and then also really rewarding to be there and be able to add a little gloss to explain, some of the strategy that led to that outcome and some of our thinking behind the strategies that we chose. So that's probably one of the most rewarding things I can think of. Yeah, in my career.
So explain to us, and it's particularly the young people, what an arbitration is. Very brief,
Yeah,
very briefly.
good question. Yeah, it's like an informal trial. So it's a part of alternative dispute resolution. And so instead of going to a court and proceeding with trial, parties usually agree to arbitration. You get a third party, oftentimes a retired judge, and you will resolve the case through a more informal trial process. It's usually a little quicker and a little cheaper than going to court. But many of the practices are very similar. So it's just really like a expedited form of dispute resolution, similar to being in court with a little less formality.
Listen to how he articulates himself. Dispute resolution. Man, we
Yeah.
need to embrace that in the Black community.
Well, you keep talking. I have an idea for that. I think we need more opportunities for dispute resolution in our communities. And, there's no one magic trick to some of the issues plaguing some of our toughest hit neighborhoods. But I do think one of the things, the challenges that we have is that people are very socially, economically, and politically dislocated from institutions that might help mitigate some of the drama that we have. For instance, if we are at work and we get into a dispute, you might have a supervisor or a department who can intercede to, help out with some of that and resolve the issue. Well, the manager is going to make the final decision. And in some of the disputes that we have in our neighborhoods, it'd be great for us to have more centers of dispute resolution, whether that's
Absolutely.
church, effective school communities, being a part of jobs, being a part of organizations and clubs. more membership and things that help us shape our identity and also help us relieve the tension that we may have, which is natural for human behavior.
Yep. Human behavior, social environment. That's right.
Okay.
Tell us more about the diversity of the populations you work with in your professional practice.
In what sense?
In your professional setting.
Well, yeah, well, I guess I'll just walk through like what I've done in my career.
Okay.
Um, that might be helpful. So when I started out practicing at a law firm, we I was my primary practice group was labor and employment. My secondary practice was school law, and there was a lot of intersection, and you've heard some of that today. So we represented a lot of school districts, um, in and around the Chicago area, and sometimes throughout the state. So I've represented a number of school districts, and then represent all kinds of employers from hospitals to manufacturers, car dealerships.
Hmm.
And then I transitioned to work for the state, in part because I wanted to take on more leadership and do a little more traditional labor at that point in time, and did a lot of collective bargaining on behalf of my agency. Excuse me. But yeah, but my clients were internal clients. The heads of our division of professional regulation, financial institutions, and division of banking. And so I was the primary advocate for them on labor and employment matters. And then I was able to leverage those experiences to transition in-house to um, a transportation company. That's where I ended up working with Dorothy Capers. And there we, I represented the company, who was concentrating in transportation, and particularly school transportation in North America. And um, our clients were school districts, so school districts would outsource their transportation needs to us. And so I've represented the company and, some of the interests of school districts there. And then in my current position, I work for the SaaS company, and the software as a service, and we provide software solutions to the auto industry generally. And yeah, I mean that's my current client. That's my current population who I serve.
That's a breadth of diversity, man. That's
Yeah,
yeah, man. You know, there are a few of my guests that I refer to as black superheroes or African American superheroes, and I
yeah.
think you fit that category, bro. I really, do,
Thank you.
man. I really do. So,
I'll
what are
take
your
that.
future aspirations, Alex?
Oh man, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up.
I think you've done a significant amount, but yeah, we still need to figure out
Yeah.
more, right? We're still here.
So let's say this, and this might be a good way to transition to some of the stuff I got going on. So clearly, I want to do well where I'm at. You know what I mean? So I'm enjoying the job that I've got. It's very intellectually stimulating, and so long as I'm there, my job is to strive to reach the highest level there. You know what I mean? So maybe someday in the future, I say general counsel may be something that's in my future. So that's one component. What do I want to do in the future? I want to continue to be present for my family. You know what I mean? So none of this other stuff matters. I know we spent some time talking about career stuff, but truthfully, I enjoy being with my wife, being with my two daughters. I don't mind giving up my Fridays and Saturdays to hang out with them, take them to wherever they've got going on, spend my Sundays rolling around with them, enjoying the city, traveling with them. So whatever I do professionally, I need to be able to be present in a way uh, I know I wanted attention when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and in a way that I think my kids deserve me just as much as I pour into my job in some of these other spaces. I don't ever want my kids to reach a point in their adulthood where they say, "Dad, didn't pour into me in the same way." So that's in the future. And then the third part I would say is the community piece, right? And so I want to be able, I want to figure out a way to expand some of the things that I've done. And over the last few years, COVID, in fact, has been uh, good for me in that it's allowed me to work remotely, which has saved me some time to one, take part of that time and actually be a better worker by putting in more time at work. But also, I could leverage some of that time to spend with my family, but also spend on community endeavors. And so, in the park, we uh, installed that huge 2,400 square foot mural over at
Yeah.
Jesse
Beautiful.
My Houston Park.
Yeah.
I love doing that, and since completing that project, We've got chess tables installed at the park, so I'm excited about that. And then most recently, the latest endeavor has been the book club. So I'm the founder of Visible Man Review, an intergenerational Black men's book club. I think our oldest member is in his 80s now, 82, and I think our youngest member is 28. We've been in existence for 5 years, and we do some really cool stuff. So I want to lean into that. And yeah, I think on the surface, it seems like just the book club, but I think when you peel back the layers, you realize we're in the process of building community. And
Yeah.
so I'd love a bigger platform to expand what we've got going on and turn some of these ideas that I got into reality. Dream big and deliver.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've proven time and time again that you're capable of doing that. So, what are you presently working on at this moment?
Um, yeah, I mean, so I'll touch on all three of those capacities. I mean, we just rounded out the year at work. Um, Looking forward to hitting the new year and resolving a number of cases. I think we had a strong year at work, and we got some big uh, cases on the calendar, and I think we're going to continue to get good results next year. So I'm going to focus on that. With the family, uh, what do we got going on? I think we'll have a decent amount of travel next year, so I'm looking to doing that next year. We got some weddings and stuff going on.
Yeah.
Um, some family travel. So I'm excited about doing that with the family. And that's what's present and on my mind. And then with the book club, we're getting ready for our end of year meeting, which we're gonna have next week, January 8th. I'm in the process of lining up some locations for us to meet at in the next year. And actually, this is very timely because it kicks off one of the things I got on mind for 2026, which is actually to have more of a public facing presence as it relates to the book club. And this is an early start on it, right? So
Yeah,
we're
man.
on December 31st. I'm getting a kickstart on the New Year's resolution to do more public speaking to share the joys of what we got going on with Visible Man Review.
I'm so happy to be a part of that, man. And we're about to get to that in a minute as we near our ending here. Let me
Okay,
ask you this, Alex. This is one of
sure.
our most important segments. How
Yeah,
important is mentorship?
it's it's important, man. I mean, sometimes mentorship can help you um see what you want to become. It can help you see beyond what your vision or understanding in the world is. My key advice in terms of mentorship is just recognize that you may not have just one mentor, you may have several mentors. You may have a mentor for very different purposes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would also say, I don't think there's any point in time in life where you don't need mentors. You There's always somebody who is you know, done something similar or is further along in their journey that looks similar to yours that you want to tap into. So yeah, I mean, mentorship is key. Um, because they are going to be mentorships. Sometimes mentors can be huge advocates for you. Like mentors help you develop, they help you narrow your ideas and refine your thinking around things. Sometimes they can help you amplify some of the ideas and impulses that you have. And I think that's key to mentorship too. Um, but just recognize you may have several and you're always going to need them. And they don't have to look like the traditional, um, you know, mentorship relation where somebody's constantly pouring inside of you and you don't give anything back. Mentorship exists in different ways. And sometimes you can help your mentor out too. It's really relationship building, but making sure that you got, proper, you know, people out there who can help you just be your better self and contribute to the world in the way you should want to. But mentorship is key. Look for them. And when people offer, I said this before, lots of people will say, call me, send me an email, you follow up with them. Don't be discouraged because the person who said that may not respond the first time. Sometimes life gets in the way of things that people got going on, deaths and other commitments. That doesn't mean they're not interested in you. If you're looking for mentorship and somebody's extended, it's incumbent upon you to follow through and make sure you get what you need out of that relationship, particularly if they offer.
Yes. And you must, I like your point. You must remain consistent. Just because they didn't answer one time doesn't mean that they're not interested in you. There are many different things that they might be responsible for or have going on in their lives, right? Uh,
Absolutely.
for me, I've had three mentors for 20 years.
Wow.
One female, two males.
Yeah.
And it just so happened before I came to Ghana, I went to Gambia, and
Mm.
Zoe, who's my female mentor, just happened to be going to Gambia at the same time, and we ended up taking a canoe across the Gambian River to Kunta Kinte Island together.
Wow.
Powerful. So yes,
Wow.
man, I totally agree. Um, you touched on this already. Tell us about the book that you've published in your book club.
Yeah, so we published a collection of literary commentary and art called Off the Porch.
Okay.
And one of the things I've also tried to do with the book club is just see different ways in which we can express ourselves, you know. And oftentimes people would ask, "Hey, you got this book club? What's your book club do?" And I said, "Well, why don't we do this? Let's issue a challenge to everybody who's in the group who has recommended a book that's been selected. Why don't you do a review of the book? And we don't want to be New York Times review. We want to be speaking to ourselves, to our audience, to explain why we selected the book, how it impacted us, give you a little flavor of what our discussions are like. Um, and let's compile those for 2024. So we got 12 entries there. And then we partnered up with some people in our art community. My guy, Paul Branton, is one of those guys. He's a member of the book club. He's been super supportive. Patrick McCoy contributed some stuff, and he's a member of the book club. But then we had this, merger of this literary content, our reviews, merged with the art, and we put that into a publication. So it's an 80-page self-published product called Off the Porch. I think it's a fun read. So if you want to know what we've been reading and know our thoughts on it, you can go and do that. It's also a beautiful read. I mean, the artistry from our generous contributors, you know, Miss Birdsong contributed to us. Candace Hunter contributed to us. It adds to a beautiful experience. And you got a copy, so I mean, like, it's fun to go in there and read it, but it's also great to just flip through, take a look at the photos. It's a wonderfully compiled document. But that's what Off the Porch is. And what I thought was cool about it is you get an opportunity for people who aren't traditional writers, members of our book club. They write in other aspects of their life, but they aren't, literary critics per se. But we can express ourselves however we so desire. The pen just happens to be one of them, and we did it in this occasion with those reviews. So that was the impetus behind it. And now, when people ask, "What's the book club do?" I tell them what the book clubs do, and I say, "Hey, go get a copy of Off the Porch. If you really want to know what it's like, you'll
Yeah.
get a flavor for what's on our mind, the places that we meet, the books that we've read. You get a glimpse of our membership. So it's cool."
Magnificent project. Please tell our audience where they can find Off the Porch.
Oh man! So follow us on Instagram at Visible Man Reviews. So you can do that. That's the easy way to follow up. A link to the Off the Porch is available there. You can contact us there to get a copy. Paul Branton, I mentioned him. He's a member. He's also an artist. And Off the Porch is available at his website. So you can go visit Paul Branton. Check out his website. You'll find Off the Porch there.
Okay. Very good. Besides Off the Porch, what does Alex read?
Oh man. So what do I read? Well, I read what's in the I read what we got going on in the book club. So currently we're reading The Speech by Gary Young, and it's a book published by Haymarket, um, giving you the background on Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech.
Okay.
And it's a timely book, and that we're entering January. We're going to come upon King Day, so I'm happy to be reading that right now. Last month we read Original Sins by Eve Ewing. The month before that we read The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. Um, what else have I picked up? I read constantly reading the paper. I'm trying to think what I have on deck to read. Oh, I just read No Sense Wishing by Lawrence Burney. He's a Baltimore, a cultural journalist from Baltimore, and it's a collection of essays that he put together. And that's pretty dope. It's like half memoir, half some of his like, cultural analysis on the music scene, local music scene, hip hop. And that one's it's a fun read, but I just finished that and I'm trying to think what else I have on deck. Um, there's a there's a fiction book called Martyr that I've got that I haven't jumped into just yet. Um, there's a collection of essays from Nora Zell Hurston sitting on my
Ah,
desk that I haven't gotten to yet.
what's the name of it?
Uh,
Which one?
ooh, you're stumping me right now. Um,
No, we're just kicking it. We're just kicking it, bro.
yeah, I don't know the title of it. It's got stick in the title, but I don't recall it. I'm gonna mess up the title, but that's sitting there. So some point in time I'll get to.
So I might need to put that in my lit review. That's why I asked. So make sure you just text me the name of it. That might be
What
something
else? You got?
I can look at for my lit review. You know, I'm working on my dissertation right now. So
Okay,
yeah.
okay,
Okay. So what type of music does Alex listen to?
man. So I'm heavy on hip hop, heavy on jazz. Um, and generally I say I like music so long as it's grooving, right?
Yeah.
That's how OJ's, right? So I listen to all things so long as it's grooving. But I'm heavy on rap, uh, and not just hip hop. I'm talking rap, like people with bars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's and it's a, and when I talk about it, you'll understand why. Because and you'll see the connection between reading. Um, I think good rapping is good writing, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I
and
agree.
some of our best lyricists are just so vivid. Like I love, like my man Lupe. Like when Lupe is in this, not that he's not as proud, but Lupe has some stuff, and he'll say small things like fighting temptation, have an apple. Like how beautiful is that? So short and succinct. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You might have Black Thought, and you say something like, um, thank God for giving me first and 15th month deliveries to kids who had parents with drug dependencies, right? What a powerful statement
Oh.
about the benefit of like welfare, right? And it's not a dissertation that says, hey, you need to keep welfare. It's saying, no, like I was a child of parents who couldn't be present in the way that I would have liked. And that stability of those checks kept me afloat to become the man that I am. What a beautiful short attestment to the benefit of these public programs that get slashed left and right, right? So I like hip hop in that sense. Or like I remember early cannabis. He
Oh yeah.
say something
Oh
like,
yeah.
"Every word I utter for hip hop lovers will reflect forever like two mirrors facing each other." Woo, woo! If only I spit words like that reflected forever like two mirrors facing each other.
Yeah,
So
man.
I've always appreciated hip hop from that perspective, particularly rap, because good rapping is good writing, which transitioned into my love of reading. Because you might read some good prose that cause you to laugh, or they just stick with you. Um, so yeah, I'm listening to tons of music, but and then recently I gotten into jazz. So Andre 3000 says something. It's like the older I get, the less lyrics to I need lyrics. And I guess what he was saying is he can essentially, as he gets older, he fills in the space for himself. You know what I mean? He doesn't need the lyrics as much. And I was like, oh, that's kind of fascinating. But I also feel like it's in jazz recently where I've seen some nice fusion going on, where the music is just evolving in a way that I like it, particularly as I get older. You know what I mean? So, Coco Roco and
Morocco is good.
you know
Yes.
Moses Boyd.
Yeah.
Um, those are just some of the folks out there doing some really cool stuff on the jazz fusion side, kind of
Days.
pushing the art
You should check
along.
out Yusef Days,
Yeah,
Christian
he's dope.
Scott, Esperanza
Yep,
Spalding. You know,
yep,
I got some things, man. We need to talk offline. But I knew
yeah.
that you would get amped for this section because I know how much of a hip hop head you are. And as you
Oh
were
yeah,
giving your description, I couldn't help but think, you made me reflect and reminisce on how many artists, how many of the greatest hip hop artists at some point mentioned Langston Hughes. And you spoke about
yep,
great writing, like great hip hop or great rap is great writing, right? And
yep.
if you are a writer, and this is what someone told me, right? When I made the mistake of talking about procrastination in the middle of my rigor.
Mm, mm,
And this mentor told me, if you are a writer, you must write.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And it
yeah,
was just that simple. Just crush me like that, right? So I
yeah.
was done. Yeah, man. So give a message to the up and coming attorneys as we close.
Sure. Um, I'm gonna just synthesize what I said earlier, man. Figure out why you want to do this.
Yeah.
Um, and if you figure out the why, you'll close the gap on the stuff in between.
Right.
Going to school, securing your JD, passing the bar exam. Those are things that are clear in terms of what you need to do.
Right.
Figure out why you're doing it. And it'll make all that stuff in between that much easier. You know what I mean? And, it's helpful to make sure that what you want to do, this path is necessary. It's a beautiful education to have, a costly one to have. Perhaps if you got to come out of pocket to pay it. So just make sure you keep the why at the front and you'll get through
Yes.
it. And then what I mentioned earlier about, um, you know, we all wear different roles at different points in time. And sometimes I wouldn't not necessarily appreciate patience or gradualism generally, but, sometimes you got to be a support player. And like in that support role, you learn how to lead. So embrace the support roles and embrace almost like the saying there are no small jobs, only small people, but I won't go there. But take pride in everything that you do, and the small jobs are a foundational step to something much bigger. This is the way that I'd approach my practice.
Hey, man, that's powerful. And we really appreciate you taking out the time to spend with us today. And we really chopped it up. We chopped it up on some things today, man. And I just want to say to you that you are someone uh, to aspire to, not just for African Americans. You are someone for people to
Yeah,
aspire to. Now,
yeah.
they can cripple themselves by having the hangups if they want to. That's on them, right? But I'm
Yeah.
telling you what I see. I've engaged with many people, man, and you're one of the sharper knives in the drawer.
I appreciate that, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate that. Still
so
sharpening steel out here, right?
that's right. So at the end of all of our interviews, I always like to end with affording our guests to tell a story of their choice. This section is called Big or Small. I got a story to tell as we close. So now is your time.
Mm, I got a story to tell.
Yes. I know you have many. Just choose one. Choose a good one, though.
Um, yeah, I would have to think on this for a while to get you a good story. But what I'll probably say is this is probably more reflective of how I see myself. I got good people watching my back,
Yeah.
and I've been telling people recently that I've been with my wife for a long time, and one of the things that cemented our relationship is when we first met, we were in college and she ended up buying me an egg crate for my bed. And you would think that's a pretty minor thing, but it was a big thing in my mind because it shows somebody care for my well-being generally beyond, some of the most trivial, superficial things. So that's one story. I remember there was a time I was actually at the park right over here with a friend of mine who was visiting for out of town. And I was there with my oldest daughter, and we walked away from the park and I left my jacket. And my daughter, she had to be like 4 or 5. She said, Daddy, you forgot your jacket. And we went back and we got my jacket. And then with my youngest, she routinely does the same thing. I might be someplace and, she says, Daddy, you forgot that. That's a long way. It's me telling you 3 stories with knowing I got good people watching
Right.
my back. So don't come for me.
Literally.
Uh,
Right.
I got people watching my back. I'll think on a more glorious story at some other point in time, but you take those nuggets and that's the
Yeah.
stuff that matters. People who got your back.
Oh, yeah. I caught it, man. I caught it. Hey, listen, man, it's been a great, great interview, man. Again, we appreciate you. We love you. And you know you got my support. I'm just a phone call away. Although I've been pretty busy, I'm still
Yeah.
a phone call away, bro. Uh, I'll see you when I get back in town. I'm gonna do a little bit more partying, then I'm gonna get home and get back to work. For Alex
Listen,
Breland, I am the Kid Rod Allen. This has been another episode of Chicago's Intellectuals Podcast. Until next time, peace.
hold on. I gotta say before we leave, and you
What?
can cut this part out.
What?
You're a cool guy, man. You're shooting this you're doing this from Ghana, man? Like, I'm sitting here messaging you back and forth. You say, hey, brother, I'm 6 hours ahead of you. We got to get this done. Let's talk about this cool lifestyle that you live in, man.
I
How do
mean,
you get yourself in this position?
plenty of work, dedication, commitment, vision, support systems, all of the things that you talked about in your interview,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah,
suffered a bout of exhaustion over the past year. So I've been consistently working rigorously, uh, teaching in a PhD program, recording podcasts. I have an aunt who's sick, back and forth to the rehab in the hospital with her. So I have a very full life. And I planned a trip in May because I knew that I would have a full year. And I made sure that I was going to have some self-care time in December. So that's how I got here.
that's awesome, brother. Well, thanks for making this work for me. I appreciate the invite. It's been a joy to be a part of this. I'm gonna see you in the neighborhood, man. But keep shining. Enjoy your stay out there, and we'll kick it when you're back in town.
All right, I got your collard greens too. Peace.
Peace, baby.
Love, bro.